Hello. My brother-in-law, who is called Guy Coulson, who I love dearly, was a huge fan of cycling as a youth. And he recently sent me a piece he's written about cycling from 50 years ago, his recollections of reliability trials. And I have a number of cycling fans in my friends and family circle. So I thought I would read it out to anyone who's interested. I find it quite interesting. So here we go. On the 10th of February 1963 at 7:30 a.m., I was waiting outside the Whalley Odeon, about to cycle to Llangollen and back, the princely distance of 150 miles. I was not alone in this foolishness, I hasten to add. This was the start of the Birmingham to Llangollen and back reliability trial, organised by the Birchfield Cyclists and Harriers Club. Reliability trials were long, hard rides as a prelude to the racing season, supposedly to build strength and resilience. There were 4 such rides based around Birmingham, which took place over the 4 successive Sundays in February. 1. Birmingham to Aylesbury and back, 108 miles, run by the Solihull Road Club. 2. Birmingham to Llangollen and back, 150 miles, the premier event. 3. Birmingham to Bristol and back, 128 miles, run by the Beacon Road Club, which was based in Northfield. And 4. A mere 80 miles circular route through Worcestershire, incorporating every steep climb that fair county has to offer, run by my own club, the Warwickshire Road Club. The weather was not the best. The winter of 1962-63 was bitter, and its like has not been seen since. On Christmas Eve, a weather front moved across the UK, turning to snow. On Boxing Day, some places were seeing up to a foot of snow. A blizzard on the 29th and 30th of December hit Wales and the southwest of England. Widespread disruption ensued. Roads and railways were blocked, phone lines brought down, and some villages were cut off for several days. Temperatures dropped, and lows of 20 degrees centigrade were recorded. These conditions, with occasional further snow, persisted until the 4th of March. The upper reaches of the River Thames froze, as did the estuary. The waste heat from Battersea and Bankside power stations prevented this from happening in London. On the south coast, there were several reports of the sea freezing over. This was the coldest winter since 1740. In Bourneville, the model yachting pool froze solid. Lights were erected to illuminate the scene and skates were to be hired. The water service pipes to both our immediate neighbours froze solid. Our own remained unaffected. My job after school was to carry around buckets of water. We regularly went sledging, but we soon tired of this activity. Back to the event. You could select a ride in 9, 10 or 11 hours. If you fell outside your chosen time, then you failed to qualify. I chose 10 hours. This gives an average speed of 15 miles per hour. In cycling parlance, this is known as evens. We were set off in groups of 20, with 10 minutes between each group. There were 2 other start points in the city, but I can't recall where they were. We went down the Birmingham New Road towards Wolverhampton on the A447 and joined the A5 at Gailey. The roads were dry and thankfully clear of snow, but it was bitterly cold. By the time we hit the A5, 4 groups of riders had coalesced and a bunch of 80 riders were bearing down on Llangollen. This was my first experience of riding in what is now known as a peloton. Riding sheltered in the bunch meant that the miles slipped by very easily. The only time you really had to work was when it was your turn at the front, and then you had to put in every effort for about half a mile before slipping back and taking a rest at the back of the pack. The train motored on, uninterrupted, via Shrewsbury and Oswestry, and when we reached Crick, the snow had caused the road to narrow, and it eventually became snowed over. We slithered the last few miles into Llangollen, occasionally having to pull our bikes to the side to allow the odd car to pass. Having reached the halfway point, we reported to the marshal, who was stationed in the main street of the town, got our cards signed and turned round to go back. I think it was at this point I realised there was still another 75 miles to go. Going back was somewhat less than pleasant. Having got clear of the snow and of Crick, I rode most of my way back with my then close friend and clubmate, Johnny Latham. We rode in line, both taking turns to push the wind. Small groups of riders formed and worked together, but just as soon broke up again, so there was no train to ease the journey back. We were frequently overtaken by heavily laden motorcycles. It transpired that these individuals were taking part in the Dragon Rally, which involved a weekend's camping on the mountain above Llangollen, and you thought we were mad. The route home took us round to the north of the city and finished in a quiet lane somewhere near Sutton Coldfield. We handed in our cards and were elated to have finished the event within the 10 hours. I don't think we even noticed the next 12 miles home. Prior to leaving school, Bourneville Boys Tech, later that year, I was summoned to the headmaster's office, one W.P. Jennings. Tony Inman will recall him with great affection, not. He was required to write a reference for me in order to support my application to join the West Midlands Gas Board as a student apprentice. He explained that he was somewhat at a loss as to what to write. My academic achievements were, to say the least, average, and he had not seen my name mentioned in any of the cricket or rugger teams that had brought glory to the school. I tentatively suggested that I had some modest achievements as a cyclist, whereupon he accused me of lying and told me to get out of his office. A letter from Birchfield, instigated by my mother, as I recall, eventually corrected matters, and Mr. Jennings very reluctantly apologised. I rode the Birmingham to Llangollen on 4 successive years, subsequently with better bikes and better clothing. However, that first event is the only one I recall with any clarity, probably because of the harsh conditions. After 3 years' participation, you were given a medal engraved with dates and times. I still have it somewhere. The event is no more, and neither is the organising club. Remarkably, the Dragon Rally continues to this day. Reliability trials are still run in early seasons, but over much more modest distances. Today, my cycling is restricted to using a small-wheeled folding bike for the occasional retrieval of free-flight model aircraft on an airfield. And you might be interested to know that my brother-in-law Guy went on to take a PhD in chemistry. So your boo sucks, Mr. Jennings. Hope you enjoyed it.